Okay, thank you. It's also my first time on stage, so I'm a bit nervous, but I will do my best. OpenNebula asked us to do a presentation using Zabbix for our, to monitor our OpenNebula private cloud infrastructure. I said I'm Geert Willems, I'm from Belgium. I started in 2015 at the Department Environment, Omgeving in Dutch, which is part of the Flemish government, and it aims to create integrated environmental and spatial planning policy. I'm a member of the infra team and I'm a system engineer. We have an IT department which exists of 5 development teams counting 50+ developers and 1 infra middleware team having 7 members. We have 3 data centers which are spread over different locations, and most of our applications are Spring Boot Java based or open source software, of which we have a bit more than 300 running. Most of the applications are running in a high availability setup, which means that at least 2 nodes are active. For the database, we have opted to use Postgres, of which we have a bit more than 170 database instances running. This all is running in 3 environments: development, which is used for the developers to run and test their features; the testing environment used by the business to do user acceptation testing; and production, which is the actual live environment. We also provide hosting for other entities and agencies. During 1 week, we do about 500, even more, redeploys of applications. So across these 3 environments, we have a bit more than 2,200 virtual machines running. As I said, we have 3 data centers. I will only focus on the OpenNebula and the Zabbix components, but the 3 data centers are linked with 1 redundant 10 gigabit stretched level 2 fiber network. And for the OpenNebula front end, which is running in a high availability setup consisting of 3 nodes, we have decided to spread them over the 3 data centers. In DC1, which is our smallest data center, we have our Zabbix server running with its database, and the front end of the Zabbix is running in a virtual machine. Data center 2, we have our OpenNebula hypervisors for the production environment, and they are spread over 2 OpenNebula clusters to have one for the even nodes and the other one for the odd nodes. Each of those host clusters are using their own Ceph cluster. Data center 3, which is used for development and testing, we also have our hypervisors spread over 2 host clusters in OpenNebula, but here they are using both one same Ceph cluster. In total, we have 26 hypervisors running, and each of those Ceph clusters have about 1 petabyte of storage capacity. And as we have a stretched network, we are able to deploy the VMs across those 2 latest data centers. Some people like to see pictures of data centers. Well, here a few, as you can see, nice and clean. Okay, so for the hardware, we are doing configuration management with Ansible. And one of the Ansible roles is installing the Zabbix server agent and sender. And the Zabbix configuration specific for the host that needs to be registered in the server, Zabbix server, is the configuration of the network, the groups which the system should be assigned to, and the templates to use in order to monitor the system. Currently, we are using Zabbix version 6.0 for both the server as well for the agent and the sender packages. And this is done for as well the bare metals, as well for the virtual machines later on. Okay, we have chosen to use the deployment philosophy infrastructure as a code. This eliminates manual interventions. It also automates a deployment process of the servers, and that results in less human errors. Repeatability, in our case, each redeploy results in a new VM. And as I already said, we are able to migrate the servers between the two data centers. It also delivers self-service for the development team, so they can deploy their new application in OpenNebula without the intervention of the infra team. And this is all done by introducing our OHO server template, OHO, which stands for OpenNebula Hosting Omgeving, environment in English. And these server templates are simple YAML files, which are under version control that describes the virtual machine, how it should look like, memory, CPU, disk, in what network it should run, and it will configure which external systems need to be configured, like DNS, backup, monitoring, key cloak for security, and much more. And as well, the software that needs to be installed on the virtual machine. These YAML files are easy to extend when we introduce new components within our infrastructure. And finally, these templates are used by our automation tool for deploying the virtual machines. A few actions that are done by this deployment process is running an Ansible script, which will set the virtual machine into maintenance mode. Then the virtual machine will be destroyed in Ansible, and the configuration of the external system will be removed as well. Then a new VM will be deployed within OpenNebula, and it will be reconfigured on the external systems. And once the server is up and running, a new Ansible role will be executed in order to install the agent 2 and the sender, as well the configuration files that are needed, and the reconfiguration of the host, the virtual machine, will be done on the Zabbix server. So now, how do we monitor all this in Zabbix? Well, first of all, OpenNebula has its own monitoring mechanism, which is executed at configured interval times for the hosts, virtual machines, data stores, virtual data centers, and so on. And with OpenNebula CLI commands, we can get the states and metrics for these monitoring stuff, like the availability and federation sync state of the frontends, a list of the hosts and virtual machines with their state, how many allocated memory and CPU they have, and a lot more information, the data stores. And it's also possible to ask the details for one specific host, virtual machine, data store, and name it. Here are a few examples of those output of the CLI commands. I will not go into detail. The state of the front end, a list of the hypervisors within OpenNebula, one specific host more in detail, details for one specific virtual machine, and here a list of the data stores that we have configured within OpenNebula. Okay, how do we use these metrics within Zabbix? When we started with OpenNebula 4, we used a template script that we have found in the Zabbix community. But we had a few problems with it. First of all, it did not cover all the metrics and states that are available by the OpenNebula CLI commands. So probably not useful for everyone. And the biggest issue that we had is when we upgraded OpenNebula to version 5, some of the output of the CLI commands was changed. So we had to modify the script. To be honest, we only focused on those metrics we were interested in. And all these items, they are collected via the external user parameter of the agent. And for those who are interested in, this is the link where we have found the template script from the community. One of the things that the script did not monitor is the state of the federation sync of the front end. Therefore, we have created a new script that collects the necessary values from the CLI command from OpenNebula in order to validate them. And if a difference is found, we will create an alert. And this alert is also provided to the Zabbix server via the external user parameter of the agent. Another thing that we have added in addition is the monitoring of the SSL certificates using the Zabbix template for this. And it will create a critical alert when the certificate is not valid, or a warning in case the certificate will expire within 30 days. And it's not the end. We created a new script in order to check if virtual machines within OpenNebula were running as a zombie. We had a few situations that when a virtual machine was redeployed, that the actual VM was not correctly removed from the hypervisor on which it was running. Nevertheless, OpenNebula would have created a new VM, which could end in a failure state, or even worse, with a double IP. So the script that we have created will check all our hypervisors to check for active zombies. And if at least one is found, an alert will be sent to Zabbix server using the Zabbix sender. This script is executed daily by cron, but it can also be executed manually in case of. And the reason why we do it in cron is because the script takes quite some time to check all those hypervisors and each virtual machine that is running on it. So here a few latest data which are collected by the script and those things that we have added in addition to. Okay, how do we monitor our deployed VMs? As I said before, we do the Zabbix configuration for the virtual machines in the server templates. And these configurations are the proxy to use in order to reduce the load of the Zabbix server. We have two different proxies, one for the application servers and another one for the databases. And this is applicable for the three environments. Then the templates that should be used in order to monitor the VM, the group assignments, could be infra team, could be development team, and so on. And we use macros, texts, vault, secrets. And at the left side, an example of a configuration for one specific application using the GMX Java. And here we have configured the service, systemd service, that should be monitored for the specific application, and the URL in order to check the availability, the status health of the application. On the right side is a middleware component, Elasticsearch, as you can see in the template configuration. And we also configured macros in order to overrule the default values for file system warning and criticals that should be sent to the Zabbix server. I would like to mention here that our department has sponsored Zabbix to do two developments. The first one is the GMX low-level discovery for Java. In the past, we had to use different templates in function of the version of Java, and it's hard to maintain this. So with the new template and the low-level discovery, it's more easy. And the other one is the monitoring for the systemd service in order to check if the state is running or not. Okay. Dashboards and latest data. This is an example of a dashboard that we use as infra team. All kinds of alerts are visible here for hypervisors, virtual machines, over the environments, as well the status of the network. This is a dashboard specific for our OpenNebula environment. The upper part are the metrics and the status which are collected by the template script from the community. And below are the ping status of, for the hypervisors to see if one is down or not. We also have some graphics that will show the CPU load for each of the hypervisors, as well as the available memory on those hypervisors. And here an example of the latest data. Of course, there's much more than this page for one specific hypervisor. Our development teams are able to create themselves the dashboards with the metrics they would like to see on this screen. And here we have an example of an application and as well the status of the Postgres database server which is used by the application. Here an example of the latest data of one specific virtual machine, an application. And I would like to end this presentation by saying that we are looking forward to test a future official Zabbix template in order to monitor the OpenNebula environment. We have created a request, as you can see here, the link. Meanwhile, we are doing some investigation on how we can get the status and the metrics using OpenNebula's XML RPC API calls. It results in one huge string, so we still need to look further on how we can extract the states and metrics from this string into the corresponding Zabbix items. Thank you.
Stop. I would like to ask a question, but specifically, Steve Destwell, unfortunately cannot see, but actually has a question for you. What is the host group team rock stars that was on the slides?
Yeah. In our team, there are inventing names to specific development teams. We have Rocky, we have, what do we have? No. Apocalypse, we have, a lot of. So, yeah.
And just one more. From the experience, did you had any issues in monitoring specifically a lot of JMX, so Java-related applications?
No, the only problem that we had in the past was that we had to use different templates. But now with the low-level discovery, it works fine, and yeah, all the metrics are well triggered and sent to Zabbix.
Thank you very much.
Yep.